Okay, now that we're finally out of the intro areas and the prologue, as I like to think of it, we're actually getting into the actual game itself, and not quite there yet completely, but this is sort of the chapter 1 of the whole thing. The game doesn't actually have chapters, but that's just what I'm going to refer to this as. It's a lot less about Ryu and Bosch and the Rangers and all that stuff, and a bit more about the actual goings-on of the storyline. Taking a quick look through my inventory here, you're probably noticing that the stats here don't seem to set up a certain way. By the way, always remember to thread your new skills onto your new equipment. All of the weapons and armor don't seem to be outright better than the old ones. Whenever you tend to play a lot of RPGs, you tend to get one piece of armor that's outright better than the last one. You go to town, you find this new sword, suddenly it's better than your old one in every possible way. But this game doesn't quite go that route. The weapons tend to have good points and bad points. As you saw a little way back there, some of the weapons increase my attack power, but they make me slower. Or they might increase my attack power a little bit, but they make me take longer to move around. They decrease my movement range, stuff like that. So that's how that works. The armor actually tends to drop your movement range a lot more frequently than your swords would, really, but, well, the general idea there. Here's the treasure chest. We don't have the key for that yet, and some of the treasure chests can be a little bit annoying to find the keys for. This one, fortunately, not so much. And finally getting some usage out of the D-dash. Don't expect to see this a whole lot, though. There's a very lengthy and very complicated reason for why. Here, it's just explaining how to use Nina's magic, as well as her movement skill, which is the item vacuum. It pretty much just auto-collects items around you. This is what the D-dash does. It allows you to walk through enemies. And here's a good example of why you should always try to land the first hit. This just shows how quickly things can go very, very bad for you in a fight. Nina is already at half health. Ryu now has extremely low speed. And, wouldn't you know it, neither of them can move. Thanks to those fucking annoying Stitch spiders. And this is your first shot of Nina's magic. It functions a little bit differently than you might expect right here. It actually kind of works like an in-battle trap. You spend AP, 10 AP, to set down the fire circle, the G-flare, as it's called, and every time you move it around, it decreases the AP additionally, kind of like when you're moving your character. Just watch it slowly drain. If it's red, you can't place it there. If it's green, you can. You kind of want to put these in the path of the enemy. Typically, this means putting them between you and the enemy, but since that ant is running away, I'm setting it in front of the ant. And these fucking bind spiders, do not let them get off the first hit because they prevent you from moving. And if you can't move, you're a sitting duck, and it takes forever to win battles, especially with these two characters. Fortunately, things do kind of work out soon enough. Fucking ants. Yes, my HP is pretty low, and of course I don't have enough AP to set it very far off. You can always charge and create like a bunch of circles all at once. I can't really show the proper strategy right now, but you'll see it in a second, as soon as I actually get that. Using the Footloose, which allows you to actually move around. The bind spiders inflicts a bind status on you so you can't move around, so you're stuck standing wherever the hell you are. This battle is going on for way too fucking long. I realize this. I also realize that I am taking a shitload of damage here, but it just goes to illustrate how battles can go very, very badly for you if you don't set things up right. I was really fucking up when I did this. I was trying to show off the G run thing, but didn't really work out. I didn't exactly plan on where I was going to be afterwards. Normally you don't run through a bunch of enemies, piss them off, and then run back into them in order to turn off your D drive, but, well, that's just me. I'm apparently very, very stupid like that. Using a lot of healing items, again, cannot overstate the importance of healing items. They don't use up your moves, they don't use up your AP. You can use as many as you want in the battle, you can use as many as you want on the field, and they aren't extremely expensive. Plus, they're pretty much the only way to heal. Using Nina as my field character, her sword attack, obviously not quite the best, but getting the initiative in battle, especially since she's kind of lower level than a lot of the other people, can be pretty useful, especially when you use strategies like this. What I'm doing here is I'm overlapping a bunch of magic circles. They're not exactly on the same spots, but they're very close together, and they're completely barricading the hallway there. So if anything wants to attack me, it has to run right through the fire. And I'm positioning Nina on top of the fire. You can't actually position the circles on top of your character, but you can always place them and then step into them. That's a pretty useful strategy, especially if you want to use your characters as human bait, which is something I tend to do a lot in this dungeon. Of course, I set those very poorly, and didn't realize that those fucking ants tend to walk away from you unless they're in attack mode. These are the worker ants, if I'm not mistaken. Bit of a pain in the ass. And the only item they tend to drop is the Lurid Dust, which is a really, really cheap sellable item. Here we have the other option for fighting. You can... Oh, no, guess not. Okay. Apparently I ran out of AP. Yes, there's numerous strategies involving the G-Flares, but not really showing them right now, apparently. The G-Flare, it's a very good spell. It's probably the most used spell for a low-level Nina. It's pretty good. I guess it kind of has its weak points. It kind of uses up a decent amount of MP, or AP rather, set down. And there's certainly better spells out there, but for general purpose, low-level stuff, it's kind of what you need. It's the only spell we have at this point, so get used to setting it down. A lot of the spells kind of function off the same principle, at least the better spells do. So get used to setting up traps and luring enemies into them, because it's going to be a major strategy, especially if you want to get through the game without taking a lot of damage. And if you're going through with low-level characters like I am, well, relatively low-level, I'm not using party experience points, I'm not resetting the game or anything, then you're probably going to want to rely on whatever traps or special techniques or whatever you can, just to make the game a bit easier on you. And the enemies are very, very stupid. They'll walk right into them, of course, like you just saw, even if it's completely obvious. And slice and kick. Yes, you can actually use your kick moves and the similar abilities like that to knock enemies directly into the flame traps and all that other stuff. So a pretty effective strategy is to lay 3 of them like in a row or almost on top of each other so that they're all circled around the same spot, kind of in a triangle pattern. Then kick the enemy into them and set off as many of them as you can. Just showing off right here how far away you can set these things. You can set them pretty much anywhere as long as you have the AP for it. But with one turn, not a whole lot you can do with that. Also, the enemies can be pretty hard to see in this game, at least in this area, since they're all really small enemies and they kind of blend into the area, so don't be surprised if you can't really see where the hell they are. I really didn't see where that spider was until it just popped up. Fortunately, it walked right into 3 flame traps and died immediately, which is good, because the less time spent in fights, the better. I'm not really editing out the fights, as you can see. I kind of felt it might be a little bit necessary to show off the various character shit and stuff. May do that in a later video, I'm not completely sure, but yeah, just giving a general idea of how the battles go. It is fairly repetitive. Set the traps, knock the enemies into them, wait for the enemies to walk into them, and Ryu pretty much becomes useless from this point forward. Ryu is really not the most useful protagonist in any game ever. He can really easily be ignored for large portions of the game because the other characters have abilities that really manage to do a lot more. Tried kicking it into the trap, really fucked up. And again, I can't really walk him around too much. Since his movement is kind of shit, he uses up AP a lot. And all that stuff. Again, a reason why Ryu isn't very useful. He has to get really close to enemies in order to attack. And you don't tend to have the AP for that until at least the second turn. And for a good portion of the game, you can pretty much take out the enemies in the first or second turn anyway, so Ryu pretty much becomes pointless. Except in some cases, in which case he is pretty decent, but I digress. Trying to look around for random stuff. And a room full of chests. Because we all love chests. Fortunately, there's some free Zenny lying around, because money is very hard to come by for me. I'm having no luck at all with the items, with the money dropping at least. But this room is full of items, mostly fresh meat, and some Zenny, so it's all good. It's all good. Of course, I realize I walked past 2 chests and didn't open them. I will do that shortly. Here we have a large empty room. I totally did not replay this section at all, so I had no fucking clue what I was getting into here. The temp save was created like a few feet away while I was trying to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. But yeah, I'm pretty much just going back here, taking out these chests, or rather one chest. Seemingly I'm going to get the other one later. Using the D-dash to get all over the place. It's a very useful skill and it speeds up your movement, but again, not really going to see much use. You're probably noticing this really weird little triangle thing, or this square thing, the little cube that appeared in the corner here. That's going to be important later, but for now, you can pretty much just safely ignore it. It doesn't really do anything right now. You might even notice that it appears to freak out a little bit from time to time, but no, it doesn't do anything. It's best ignored until the very end of this set of videos. And going back and buying more heal kits. You can never have too many heal kits. You might think I'm going overboard and buying way too fucking many and all that stuff, but no. Even though I'm kind of limited on inventory space right now, especially right now, I only have 2 pages for that matter. It's very important to have a lot of heal kits. You cannot have enough heal kits ever. Ever. Okay, fucking get those heal kits. Unless you are extremely competent at the game, or you're rocking some fucking awesome equipment or something, which this game doesn't even have a whole lot of really awesome equipment for that matter. You're pretty much going to need as many heal kits as you can. So, unless you're blowing all your party experience points, or this is your second or third time through. What the fuck is that on the ceiling? Oh shit. Yes, they cling to the ceiling, and they tend to drop on you. Fuck these things. More spiders. Spiders are all over this fucking place. Fortunately, the hallways are pretty narrow, and we have Nina here to set up some wonderful, wonderful flame traps. Which, thankfully, the enemies will walk right into, because that's the only way they can possibly hit you. You're probably noticing that I have to move this thing around a little bit. It can be a little bit hard to estimate where exactly you're supposed to have it. So sometimes it's good to just randomly move it around and start hitting the place button, and hopefully it'll go green at one point. Sometimes you do need to be pretty pixel perfect, especially when you get into like really cramped areas or you get really low on AP. So expect to take a little while to get used to placing these things. Hell, I still have problem placing these things. But again, try to overlap them as much as possible. The more you can trigger, the better it is. And if you do it right, you don't even have to worry about anything getting anywhere near your party members. Which is good, because you do get a bonus every time you complete a battle without taking damage. I believe it's the Tactician bonus. It adds to your experience points earned. Yeah, there's a couple little things. You can get extra experience points from completing the battles quickly and various stuff like that. So it's always good to try getting through the battles as quickly and easily as possible, with as few headaches as possible, and you're being rewarded by making your party stronger. which I always found a little bit silly. You'd think you would actually need more help if you actually sucked at the game, but no, this game actually makes itself easier by being good at it. I don't know what the fuck's going on there, but hey, whatever. And the almighty kick rides again. I fucking love the kick. The kick is the greatest skill ever. It's useful for a lot of things. Of course, I don't have a whole lot of skills right now, so it's kind of one of the best out of a lack of competition. More flame walls, because more flame walls. You always need more flame walls. Killing it with fire is always the perfect strategy. And no, for those that might be wondering, you did not accidentally click on the link to one of the Deception LPs. This is actually what this game looks like. No, seriously. It's all about setting traps and luring things into it. What a sadistic motherfucker I am. And kicking them back in order to clear some room off so that I can drop some circles. That's pretty much what Ryu is relegated to, the way I play him right now. He pretty much just exists to clear off space so Nina can put down some traps. That's it. That's all he's good for. Well, he does have other uses, but that's how I tend to roll. And they stupidly walk into flame traps, which is good. I love watching stupid enemies die. Also, I tend to place Ryu in front of Nina a lot. That's because he has better defense, and he has the ability to steal as well, grafted onto his shield. So between all that stuff, it's pretty good. And really, you don't want people hitting Nina since she takes damage like a motherfucker, and a dead Nina is not good at all for anything. Of course, I'm completely out of inventory space once again. And wouldn't you know it, there's a ladder through there, and I don't feel like exploring there right yet, so I'm going back and selling some shit. Because you always need extra inventory space just in case you come across that one rare item or that one awesome thing that you really, really want. And then you have to dig through your inventory and look for whatever you want to throw away. I always kind of dislike that about this game. But at the same time, I kind of enjoy the fact that they actually limit your inventory space. It just kind of needs to make a bit more sense. Since you can carry a lot of heavy items, but you can't carry a whole lot of smaller items. Unless they're stacked. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but whatever. It's a video game. It's not supposed to make sense. And looking for other shit to sell, but no, I just sell whatever the fuck I just sold. The lurid dust, yeah. The only thing the lurid dust is good for is selling, and it doesn't even sell for a lot, so if you're going through a dungeon and you find something cool, pick it up. At the very least, you'll probably sell it for more than a couple lurid dust anyway. So don't be too concerned about throwing away the items. Plus, drop items aren't actually the most effective way to earn money in this game. There's actually a much, much better way to do that, but I'll explain that when the time comes. I think a few of you know what I'm referring to. You can make some mad fucking stacks of cash doing that. And of course, would you know it, my little trip back to the store was completely and utterly pointless, since I completely forgot that the waste shaft 3rd floor is where you start to pick up your other slot of pages. Yes, right through this door right over here, after I blow open these crates here and get some Zenny and party experience. Everybody loves Zenny.